Welcome to this episode of the DGD Podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds. Juan should be joining us shortly. First off, I want to show you out. Hey, sponsored by La Terrain, guys. Use code DGD at checkout, get 10% off your purchase site-wide. So, lot to talk about. We'll talk about, honestly, Nico. I'm not trying to butcher this last name, but commits to Tennessee while we're getting ready, while the show's going live and getting started. Let's talk a little bit about that. What could that mean for the Vols against? There's a lot of names this weekend in Georgia. And you got that right there. You had the MVP camps. You also had Rivals camp in Charlotte. We'll talk a little bit about all of that. But first, let's go ahead. I want to go ahead and get started into this Nico news since it's so new. Obviously, just while we were getting started, Nico Lamalave, I think that's how you say it, commits to Tennessee. And, there was, if you're not familiar with it by now, there was a lot of talks about $8 million NIL deal, on 2023 quarterback, things like that. A lot of speculation leads you to believe that it is Nico and Tennessee footing that bill. So what does that mean? Honestly, in my opinion, I do not like the way that's set up because it's just going to doom college football as we know it, in my opinion. Obviously, it's the name of the game. Things are legal. It is what it is. But if things come to fruition, as per speculation, if Nico was this, if Nico is this kid that's getting this money and his $8 million or whatever, my question is, why would you spend $8 million on one kid? $8 million could get you, 10 kids, right? Maybe they're just blowing money because they got it to blow and swing it around, if you know what I mean. Who knows? And we don't even know if this is true, but we're obviously going off of speculation, right? If you're paying $8 million for a quarterback, there's more holes in this Tennessee team than just your quarterback. That's simple enough. That's just the way that is. So you spend $8 million if this is hypothetical. Obviously, do not know if that is the case. But you spend $8 million on one player. There's more holes in that. You've got to fix that defense. I would have spent that money on a ton of other players, especially on defense. Tennessee had a great offense. I'm not going to knock that. Can't knock that. But their defense lost them games because they just were gassed. So you need that depth. You need talent and you need depth. $8 million for a quarterback is nice because you got a 5-star quarterback if that were to be the case. Regardless, Nico commits to Tennessee, so good for Tennessee on picking that up because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the 23 class. Not going to knock that. But you better hope to God you can get some defensive help, is all I'm going to say. Period. Absolutely, period. You bet you got to sit there and bolster that defense because you're going to go up against teams that are going to stop you offensively, right? Georgia did it. Now, we'll see where Tennessee stands. I could honestly see Tennessee being a true threat to the SEC East runner-up, I think. We'll see. I think they beat Florida, and I can see them beating a lot of other teams in the SEC East. But still, nonetheless, looking at it in this regard, you need defensive help. $8 million is nice because you got your guy. Fair, if that's the case. But spend your money wisely, guys, because all it's going to take. What if he doesn't pan out, right? Then you got to sit there. As a Georgia fan, I would be laughing, right? I'm laughing at that point. Simple enough. Because you spent $8 million on a bust if that would be the case. Just food for thought there. But nonetheless, obviously, Tennessee picks up Nico Lamalave, 5-star quarterback, 23 class. But let's talk about another 23 guy, quarterback class, right? Out of this quarterback class, Arch Manning, right? Arch Manning visits Georgia this weekend, and I think it's calculated based off of first full pad scrimmage or first full pad practice, tons of current commits, tons of really visitors in general, right? Tons of visitors. And from sources, things like that, you're hearing had a great time. And I would hope that's the case. And I think we have a good shot at landing Arch. But there was also another quarterback there in the 24 class, and that is Dylan Raiola. And Dylan Raiola could very well be just as good, if not better, than Arch. And that's crazy to think that, but it's true, right? Uh, Dylan, out of Chandler, Arizona, uh, was son of Dominic Raiola, a longtime Lions center. If you have the connection here, that Stafford and Dominic played for a while in Detroit. So they're both high. Dylan is very high on the Dogs as well. So you sit there, you piece that together. You got two dominant quarterbacks in two different classes, and honestly, I think they don't shy away from the competition. I think that's just the case. So, in my opinion, I think you look at Arch Manning being the crown jewel per se of this weekend, right? All eyes are on Arch, and that's fine, right? That's just fine. But there's a lot of other guys that and we've talked about King Joseph. King Joseph had a great visit as well. Several kids, right? Just all of them. You saw pictures just bombarding, Twitter notifications, things like that. All these kids here in Athens, and just had a great time, right? And honestly, I think you look at Coach Monken, Coach Faulkner, and Coach Duribe, Uzo Duribe. I think all three of those guys have sat there and solidified this weekend as a home run for a lot of guys in regards to these visits. But also looking at practice, right? I think you look at practice, things went very well. And one of the things that I think people need to understand is I think there's a legitimate quarterback competition for the backup spot. I think perhaps I would hope that it turns into be a starting quarterback competition, in my opinion, if things go out as well as I would hope. Carson Beck, you're continuing to hear good things out of him, and obviously that's a good sign. Brock Vandergrift's doing just fine as well. But then you sit there and look on the defensive side of the ball, and I think everybody coming into the offseason is questioning what Georgia's going to do, right, to replace the guys that we're losing to the draft and transferred out. And listen, when you have guys like Michael Williams that's going to come in as a freshman and touch the field almost immediately, that tells you you're doing something right. But I think you look at guys like MJ Sherman, Smile Mondon. I think you need those guys to step up. And obviously, you look back onto the offensive side of the ball with guys like Oscar Dell, Arik Gilbert, getting reps. Oscar specifically with both Brock and Darnell out for the spring. I think it's imperative that he gets in there and gets these reps. It's crucial for him from a development standpoint because the speed of the game compared to high school is completely different. And I think he's learning that. And also, I think you look at the situation in general where you have that opportunity, and hopefully these guys take advantage of it. You're looking at big battles along the offensive line. Who's going to step up on the defensive side of the ball on the D line, right? It's a good time to be a Georgia fan, especially with these practices coming in. So you look at, Jalen Walker's another guy. Jalen Walker's flashing, right? It's just a lot of positive things right now. Obviously, outside of the day one injury news, I haven't heard anything in regards to injuries. So let's hope that it stays that way. I think that's one of the keys for Georgia fans is to hopefully, come out with, not really any injuries or major injuries prior to what, already has been announced. So, with that being said, I think that's one thing that, we'll keep an eye out for as we move on through the practices leading up to G-Day. But I think you also look at, some other things, around the, I guess you could say in the region. You have Rivals Camp in Charlotte and called this before it even happened. Look at a guy, 2023 D-line Jamal Jarrett dominates, getting another MVP performance, D-line MVP performance to back that up with the Under Armour camp in Atlanta earlier. So you sit there, you see him right there just purely dominating. Look, if the recruiting services are going to, they can sleep on him for a little bit. They can't do it anymore. And two back-to-back D-line MVPs, two different camps. I think that's telling, in my opinion. So I think you have to see a rankings bump. And listen, if you've watched the show or listened to the show, you understand rankings aren't everything. But don't sleep on my man, period. All right, don't sleep on Jamal. I'm telling you right now. So obviously you look at that right there, and I've said it, and I'll preach it again. Jamal's a guy that Georgia has to have. Just going to leave that there. Just going to leave it there. And you also had some guys, Hunter Henry as well, did fairly well, from Grimsley as well. So a lot to take in, um, just a lot to soak in. And honestly, it's so good, to be into this spring practice, getting into it. I think you look at, I want to talk about Arch here. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Arch trying to commit into the summer. So, um, how does that play, right? Where does Georgia stand? I think Georgia's got a legitimate shot to land Arch. There's a lot of talk about too, but I think right now Georgia has a realistic shot in them. And if that's the case, that's going to make a wild quarterback competition. Kirby's visor, Vols handing out $8 million in McDonald's bags to Nico. Boy, I think honestly McDonald's must have got the ice cream machines working or something, because must have been willing to go over there for that. But no, honestly though, I want to kind of go back on that as well, right? The whole NIL thing, right? I'm not one of those guys that sits there has that kind of money, but those guys are businessmen. Those folks are businessmen, I should say. You never know if it's women or, obviously just to be correct here, but those folks are business folks, right? They're businessmen, businesswomen. If this bites them, how many times are they going to do that more? How many more times are they going to do that, right? Not my choice. But if that was the case, that's kind of pricey, and I don't trust those numbers. That's way too high for any one kid that ain't touched the college field at all, right? You look at NIL deals from Caleb Williams at Beats, things like that. Like that might not even be 8 million. Honestly, I don't know, but 8 million to a high school kid, I just don't understand the concept of paying that much to a kid that hasn't produced anything, hasn't touched the college field, hasn't done a college practice yet. Like I understand high school football, you have some generational talents, but and until you sit there and get on campus and see, that's my thoughts. I think NIL should be for kids that have currently playing, have seen the field or at least been through a semester of college or something. Because this high school stuff, man, paying $8 million to a high school kid just to come to your school, that's obviously pay for play. Ain't nobody questioning that. Is that what NIL is supposed to be? No, just don't. I don't see that. Right. I think people are twisting the concept of what NIL is. It shouldn't be pay for play. It should be allow kids to sign autographs, get paid. Right. I mean, that's just my thoughts on it. But Tennille asked how much NIL had to do with it. Honestly, Tennille, I'd probably say at least 85%, 85 easy. Just listen, from a quarterback standpoint, look, Heupel showed a lot of things with Hendon Hooker, and how potent that offense could be. So I do give it some sliver of, a percentage to, you know, believe that, it's partially an offensive scheme. That's a lot of stats to be made right there, right? Throw the ball all the time. Cool. But let's be honest. More than likely, it's probably Tennessee. Talked about that report at $8 million deal. I'm sure I don't know if we'll ever find out, but I'm sure you'll hear more about it as it comes around. But just saying. I think 85% is reasonable. It's probably higher, but that's just where I'm going, because I do think that Tennessee's offense is attractive for quarterbacks that want to pad stats. And, I don't expect them to win the East or anything like that, because Georgia's just different, in my opinion, compared to what everything else is in the SEC East, which, it is what it is. Kirby's advisor also says, wait until the recruit is a proven commodity at sophomore season. Listen, as a freshman, I understand you can make money as a freshman, right? Your name coming out of high school, people want you, right? And I understand that. Once you get on campus as an enrolled, like if you're enrolled as a college student, why not, right? Once you enroll into the school, I think that should be the starting point. But like I said, literally dealing these kind of NIL deals to high school kids, that's pay for play, man. Is that really what the NIL was supposed to be about? I mean, that's what it's turning out to be, for sure. But I think you need to, kind of set some rules. If I'm the NCAA, I'm setting rules, that apply to, kids that are actually currently enrolled into that university. If it's a high school kid, once you enroll and are a freshman, at that point, you can start the NIL process, right? And listen, it's just human nature to adapt and, to do these things, right? You're going to manipulate systems. It's just what happens. It's human nature. I get it. So you're going to see people maybe pay for play still, but backdate it to start. That you're going to see that stuff happen, right? Just the way that is. But this is the, I guess you could say, the life we live in as college football fans right now, and really college sports fans, to be honest. Um, and I don't necessarily like it, but I want kids to get paid. So I'm not mad at the kids at all, right? If he's gonna get paid $8 million, get paid $8 million. Good for you, all for that. But I think the folks up top need to kind of set, restrictions, cap limits, things like this. Because if you think $8 million is a start, just wait. This is probably just, I mean, we're still just in the infancy stage of NIL. So what does that mean? If you already seeing $8 million, what does that mean? Because it's only going to keep going up, because that just tells me the price tag. Now, in my opinion, being a business guy, there's probably going to be a market correction at some point, right? You're going to see these kids bust out. And listen, it's going to happen. You're going to see these kids get $1 million, things like that, and they're going to bust. And then those boosters and the people that are paying these NIL deals, it'll come back and get you. It's coming, right? It's coming. How many is it going to take, though, before you see that? I think it's coming. Some kids want to start immediately and not compete for position, though. Yeah, I mean, that's why you got the transfer portal, one-time rule. I'm for the transfer portal. Everybody deserves a second chance, I'm glad we don't have the waiver rule, because it was just completely, the way it was ran was just incompetent too, right? You think just Georgia alone, Luke Ford goes to Illinois, right? From Georgia to Illinois, and it has to sit out when you have a legit medical reason for your, some of your immediate family that, that's passing away or in the process of, passing away, things like that, wanting to go play up there for them. But you get, you sit out, but then you see other quarterbacks leave, immediate eligibility, and it's not nearly the same context. So I'm glad kids get that immediate eligibility, that one-time thing. I'm for that. But no, I think that's the reason for the transfer portal, right? I think A&M, you're going to see that happen. Watch, it's coming. It's coming. 7 5-stars, right? Just this class. You could see, honestly, you could see 2 or 3 of those guys leave easily within a year or two. Just my thoughts. And if they stay, they stay, right? So we'll see how this plays out, but how it all plays out. I just think that it'll correct itself. You have that many, you have an abundance of 5-stars and an abundance of talent. The paying and everything like that is fine. But I just think that it's coming around to a point where kids are going to want to play, because let's be honest, this is kind of a stopgap for the most part, right? For the most part, on average, kids are coming in and, you're seeing, 500,000, like that. I think you can average at one point was like 500, which that's not terrible, right? I mean, you're still able to, profit off of your name. I'm not mad about that. Obviously it's a market league, right? It's a market league. Like a quarterback's just going to draw more money. Flashy receiver, draw more money. Offensive linemen's got to understand that, your market, your supply and demand is not going to be as high as, a 5-star quarterback. And I think you're going to see that, but how's that going to impact the kids? Welcome to business, folks. Welcome to business. Yeah, no, Tanil says they're on payrolls now. Kind of the way it seems, it's kind of that way. I mean, like I said, feels like it has the feelings of a pay for play. I'm not too big for it. Rudes, is it confirmed? I have a feeling you're talking about the Nico to UT. That did drop. He did commit. So if that's what you're meaning, yes, it is confirmed he did commit. And obviously, kind of looking back on it here, I think you look at just the whole grand scheme of things, right? I think Georgia is going to sit there, and the production on the field and things like that, Georgia's going to partake in NIL. They're just going to do it a little bit different. And I'm all for that, right? Georgia's in a spot, and I think you kind of look at Bama maybe as well. These kind of schools just operate like normal. Georgia's going to do their thing. They're going to recruit guys in. They're going to play. They're going to win, get you in a position to win, to win titles, right? Win national championships. And obviously you look at recent success. Obviously just went coming off of a national title. You look at the combine. Like I said, that was a 3 or 4 day advertisement for Georgia. You look at pro day when you have every single team. I want to say Kirby said 122 NFL scouts and GMs and head coaches were there. That's getting into the heads. That's getting into ears, and people are seeing that if you're recruits, if you're elite recruits, because that shows you that the money's there for years. Now, you look at even 5 Georgia players taken in the first round. You look at the likes of Alabama. And the elites come because they know they can go to the NFL. Just the way that goes. So Georgia can just operate like normal, right? That's just in my thoughts. Georgia can operate like normal, get these guys, and be straight. And you're going to see that. That's why another thing you're also seeing Georgia sticking closer to home. You're trying to operate against the portal. You look at guys like Tyreek Stevenson, Major Burns. I wouldn't say Jalen Kimber, but yes, to an extent. Guys wanting to go back home, right? Keep guys in your state. There's really no reason, unless it's just a playing time thing. They're not. You're not gonna have to worry about coming back home and leaving your program to do so, right? That's key, and you can see that with how Kirby's recruiting. But it also helps that the state of Georgia, and Florida for the most part, loaded with talent. 23, 24, really 25 as well. It's just getting insane, just how much talent the state of Georgia has. So when you see that, Georgia's going to operate like normal, and you're going to see Georgia continue to recruit at an elite level. You're going to see, teams like Tennessee, teams with NIL try to use that to their advantage to get talent, and that's okay. It's just the way college football is headed. But it's not going to stop Georgia and Alabama from being in the playoffs contention every year. Those elite teams are going to be there for the most part. That's just my thought right there. But obviously, we'll kind of recap here, and then we'll stick around for the Q&A, guys, if y'all want to hop in there. But obviously, look, 23, not 23, 23 D-line, Jamal Jarrett. Look, Grimsley kid right up here at the road, dominates Rivals camp in Charlotte. I'm telling you, he's a 4-star right now based off a 24/7 composite. It's about to shoot up even more. It's coming. It's coming. And there was a lot of good talent there as well. You got guys like Jonathan Paylor went there, Henry Harden went there, Xavier McLeod was there, dominating, doing his thing. A lot of eyes there in Charlotte, a lot of visitors in Athens. Obviously, Arch Manning, things seem to go well there. King Joseph and just a ton of guys landed. Just a ton of elite recruits here, right? It's another week. This upcoming week, there's another list of elite guys as well. Obviously, multiple classes, 23 all the way to 25, 26 probably. Dylan Raiola, Arch Manning, would be nice to see him as dogs. King Joseph, want to see him as a dog. There's a lot to go around. But with that being said, though, guys, make sure, if you haven't already, join our Discord, talking all things Georgia, talking college football, March Madness, discord.gg/Bones Brigade. Also, if you want to catch some inside info, join the Patreon, patreon.com/DGD Podcast. That is all we have for today, and go Dogs. And we're back for Q&A. First off, Rudes, Q&A here. Your pick for a recruit to watch for out of the state of Georgia. Who do you think has a chance to boom? If there's no specific class, I'm telling you now, King Joseph's about to be a dude. Already in the top 100 for 2024. He's only going to get better. Only going to get better there. I just see it happening. It depends on how things play out. I think by the time, the 24 class rolls around, Roots, I think you see him in the top 50, if not pushing for that 5th star. That's just my thoughts there. Kid has an immense skill set and just talented as I'll get out, man. But there's some other, there's another kid here. Obviously, looking at this past week, a lot of people, may not know this name, but coming out of Colquitt County, and his name is Jaden Fowler. Jaden Fowler, 2024, I believe, receiver, 6'3", about 200 pounds, 6'3", 190, 200 pounds. Not got a Georgia offer yet, but just watching his tape, I think that's a name that, he visited. He visited this weekend. Landon Thomas, a teammate of Landon Thomas, 24, tight end. You're looking at a top 40 player there. My thoughts, have a good season, and I think that's a name that you'll want to keep an eye out for. Is Jaden. I think he can really have a good season, and if that's the case, I would expect Georgia to come call him with BMAC. Maybe Todd Hartley too, but I genuinely think that Jaden, if he gets the offer, that's going to be huge. You just got to go out there, keep working, and get that out there. But I think if he has a good season, you could definitely see that offer come, in my opinion. And obviously, Roots, I think, there's just a lot of talent in 23. Honestly, just talking about him before, you look at, there's several kids from Buford, right? Edric Houston. There's just so many to name from Buford, ones who came on it and mentioned these guys before. And it's just insane, right? It's just insane what Buford's bringing back. Buford moving up to 7A, previously at 6. So I want to see how they handle that, because at 6A recently, they were coming off their third straight 6A title. So now that they're moving up to 7A, it's going to be quite interesting to see how that plays out. But definitely, I think it's worth paying attention to. You also have another guy out of the 23 class, Rhodes, is Gabriel Harris, edge rusher, 6'4", about 6'4", 240. Listen, he visited as well, and honestly, that kid, he moved. It's different. It's different. Along those lines, future stars to look out for NC. Yeah, man, this is right up my alley. I think you look, and you could look at 23. Obviously Jamal, right? Obviously Jamal. But if we're going 2024, I think you could see, Jonathan Paler is a name. Jonathan Paler is a name out of Cummings you might want to keep an eye out for. Definitely think as a running back he would fit well at Georgia. Just my thought there. I think you look at receivers. If you want to focus on receivers, you could see Terrell Anderson. You could see Alex Taylor. Both are about 6'2", 6'3". And honestly, it's insane to see those guys. I think both of them run very physical, very, very physical. So you sit there, bring those in. And then if you want to go even further, 2025 is interesting because Grimsley also has, Bryce Davis. Bryce Davis is about 6'4", 220 right now. Got a Vanderbilt offer. Interesting fact, got a Vanderbilt offer off of his JV tape. So listen, if he keeps going and keeps working and getting better, moving up to varsity this season, it's only a matter of time before you start to see other Power 5 offers hit him. And there's another Andre Hill, about 6'4", 6'2", 6'3", 320-pound D lineman, bolster in the middle with Jamal this season expected. Another 25 kid. And I think, if things go well, I think you can see him shoot up some eyes, put some eyes on him. So I think that's just some guys to look out for in NC. And obviously looking at 23, I think you look at Noah Rogers, Rico Walker. Rico Walker is a name you might want to know if you're a Georgia fan. Coming off of a recent visit, not this past weekend, but, Coach Uzo's putting in a lot of work there, building that relationship, but back up and getting Georgia back into the swing of things there. Rico would be a really good kid to have on the class if you can get him. You got to watch out for NC State, though. NC State's got a lot of these kids for 23 and some 24. It's wild to think that. But, typically you think North Carolina, but NC State's got some good eyes on it and, good shots to land these guys, some of the better guys at North Carolina. Georgia's going to get their guys. I think you need to do that. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, Patrick mentioned parts of North Carolina are loaded. No doubt, man. No doubt about it. You got guys in Charlotte, Jaden Davis, 5-star out of the in 2024 class. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. To be honest, for that, there's just a lot of there's just a lot of good football right now in North Carolina. That listen, I understand the state of Georgia; it's a different beast, but it's definitely good to see North Carolina getting to that level as well. Definitely good. But no, looking at guy like that right there, let's see, definitely making some noise. Yeah, I think you have to look at that. I agree with you, Rose, completely. But I think other than that, though, it's one of those things where North Carolina is becoming a state where people need to keep an eye for, and I'm sure Georgia with Trey Scott and things like that is one of those situations. On that note, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here and see how things go. Stay tuned for Friday. We'll have another episode out. Everybody have a great day and go dogs.